You want to go out and party and do all this stuff, that's fine, you can do that. But are you established? Do you have money in the bank that you can, live comfortably on for the rest of your life? I sure as heck know that I don't. And that's my goal. I need to stack my chips, and right now is the time to do that. It's not party time right now. It's grind time right now. I got to go get my money.
All right, baby, welcome to another episode of Rebuilded with Tim Grover and Eddie. It is week 6, episode 6. Tim, how you feeling today?
I'm excellent.
You are so excited.
I'm excellent. I'm excited. I can't contain myself.
Well, it's good to be back here. It's good to be back. You had a nice little off week, huh? Little no travel this week.
No travel this week. I was actually supposed to go see a client, but something happened.
Okay.
So
you got out of it.
We'll just leave it at that.
We got a great guest coming on today.
Yes, we do.
Great guest, UFC Champion Julianna Peña.
Yeah.
One of the biggest upsets in UFC history. She's going to be in studio. We're very excited. First in studio guest. Not many people are in Chicago, so it's great to have her here.
It's unbelievable. And when you say champ, she is the champ.
Yeah, well, I want you to. Are you going to bring that up, sir?
Oh yeah.
I want you to. I want to see how that correlates with her. But no, it's good to be here. We're excited to talk to Julianna, and that's kind of what we're going to be talking about before she comes on too, because her upset was so profound, and it was, like I said, one of the biggest ever. We're going to talk about kind of seizing the moment, right? And being an underdog and really just, taking advantage of an opportunity. And whether it's in, fitness like I'm in right now, like I'm trying to do, or in business or whatever, there's just a lot of ways to kind of go here.
Yeah, there is. I mean, listen, first of all, if you're not the champ, everything, and if you're not number one, you are the underdog. You're going to be the underdog. But here's the thing, the mentality of the people that win at business, win at fitness, win in sports, they never relish or think of themselves as a champ. They understand they have that moment, but then minute that happens and they have the little celebration and they have the joy and they have the laughter and they have the fun, then their mind automatically goes back into, I'm the underdog. The mind shift goes back because they're like, if I sit on that throne for too long, then I may not be sitting on that throne much longer. So there's a shift automatically when they win the championship. We talk about this. The best of the best, like when you've hit your goal weights, all right, as soon as you're at your highest, you're actually at your lowest.
Because that's when you're most vulnerable, is that what you're saying?
That's not when you're the most vulnerable, but there's another level, there's another championship to win, there's more to do. Mm-hmm. And that's why you celebrate, you have your high, and then you're like, all right, what's next? You always use the Tom Brady example, is when he's always asked, what's his favorite championship ring?
The last one.
He always says the next one.
The next one, sorry.
Yeah, the next one. The next one. So it's always about the next achievement, the next goal. That doesn't mean you don't enjoy that moment and you don't cherish it, but you want to move on. You want another moment. You want the next moment and the next one and the next one. Well,
that's what we just talked about with Wade last week. After he won the second, you're like, you need one more.
Yeah, he needed one more.
Yeah.
And he knew it, and I was the one that had to tell him to say, hey, you need one more, and that's the shift of mind. You always have to have somebody in your small circle that just tells you those things to make sure you don't get content.
How many people have you worked with that conversation kind of went the opposite way, where it's like, hey man, I want to celebrate this.
I want them to celebrate.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of not celebrating.
Yeah.
All right. It is. Listen, celebrate hard. Don't celebrate long, because you won't be able to celebrate. You won't be able to celebrate again. All right. In your fitness journey and in your health journey. All right. When you reach a certain when you reach a certain milestone. If you celebrate too long, well, guess what? Everything you've put in is gone, and now that milestone that you reached, you can't get to the next milestone because now you got to work your way all the way down. And that's what people have. That's and one of the things in fitness. That's what people do. You know, they want to celebrate every single weekend, or they want to celebrate. You know, I lost 5 pounds. Let's go out and celebrate. You spent 2 weeks trying to lose those 5 pounds. One celebration too long, you'll be back up to 7. And now, how does that have an effect on you? On mentally? Well,
yeah. No, I mean, it's yeah. Is there a and that's kind of, you said you work with a lot of guys about with that, right? Where the next play, if someone's celebrating, what's your philosophy? The next play is always the worst.
Well, I'm saying if you watch in sports, and if you watch an individual and even a team, if they make a great play, in the middle of the game, all right, in the middle of the game or the beginning of the game or whatever, and they go on this massive high, and they're like celebrating, and they're really pumped up and so forth. There's training methods that we use to bring that athlete back down to a calm state, to a relaxed state. And a lot of athletes, they don't train that way, or they don't know how to train that way. A lot of individuals don't know how to train that way. So they're on that high. And when you're on that high, your heart rate is pumping. You're excited, and then you can't see what's happening next. You can't. You're not mentally prepared to be ready for how quickly the next play is going to come and what's going to happen and what's going to happen. You watch us in sports. Is the individual that makes that great play. And this is real in football, is if you have a top-level quarterback, the next play, they'll immediately go after that individual again.
Look for that same wide receiver.
Whether it's same route, same thing. They'll go after that they'll go right back and go right back at that individual, because they'll see that person is still celebrating and they're doing things that they're supposed to do. And by the time they come back to the line, they're not quite mentally in the state they need to be in.
So what's your biggest techniques kind of that you talk with these athletes about? Is it like a meditation? Is it like a yoga type deal where you get these mindsets where you're like, hey, this is not, even though that play went well, no two plays are the same. Don't think it's going to happen again.
Well, there's a trigger that we use, that we train with our different individuals, and it could be a thought, it could be a word, it could be an action, it could be a facial expression that makes the individual snap back into a calm state. And it takes a while. This is not something that just you can develop in weeks. This usually takes years of doing it over and over and over again and figuring it out.
So you're just body language is massive in the work that you do.
Oh, massive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Body language, facial expressions, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's do you have like a telltale one that you always look for, or is it just vary on each athlete?
It varies on each individual. It's paying attention to what happened in that play, and then the next one and the next one, seeing how they reacted, whether it's a positive, whether it was a positive or negative play towards them, a positive result, negative result, seeing how they reacted, how they looked towards their teammates. Are they blaming anybody else? Just looking at their eyes, looking at their head position, just different things.
What was I feel like we've talked about so many of your athletes. Obviously, we had Russell on. We've talked about Michael a lot. What What was Kobe's thing? What was what facial expression or what did he do when you're like, oh, I could tell he's letting his foot off the gas a little bit, or when he's so locked in that he's got the pedal on the floor?
You know what? You would very rarely see Kobe take his foot off the gas. That was just, there's so many, you can pull up so much stuff on social media with him where, one of the two things that come into play into mind was when Matt Barnes faked the pass in his face. He didn't even flinch when Kobe's sitting. He's getting, I don't know if it was a timeout or he's getting ready to check into the game, and Chris Rock is literally talking to him and trying to get his attention and so forth, and he's not doing it. It's like understanding that when you're inside those lines, being able to not pay attention to anything else that's going on. You hear individuals say this all the time, say, I play the best, or I perform the best under the bright lights, or when the lights are brighter. Well, the best of the best, they never even notice the lights. They don't even notice lights. If you pull up old YouTube clips of MJ in the old Chicago Stadium, they would always tell you at the beginning of the game, no flash cameras. This was before cell phones. You just watch him shoot a free throw. How many flashes?
Oh yeah, or what was it, dunk contest?
Are just the dunk contest, free throws, whatever it is, the flashes that are going on. If you're busy paying attention to that stuff, and what happens is when you get excited, that's what you do. You start to hear what the audience starts to say. You start to pay attention to the fans. And what happens is your emotional state changes. And when your emotional state changes, it usually does not change for the positive. Think about when people fall off their nutrition, they fall off their diets. It's not because you're hungry. Or your emotional state changed. Something happened in your emotional state to trigger you saying, "Man, I got to go eat something. I got to go have that ice cream. I'm hungry. I don't want to. I don't feel like working out today." It's not. Your body telling you, "Hey, man, I'm starving right now. I'm hungry." It's not. There's an emotional state change that happens in your head that's going to affect your performance either in a positive or negative way.
Yeah, I could say that definitely for me. Like being, it's just the food culture is a big thing. Just especially living in Chicago, we got so many great spots.
It's unbelievable. Chicago, listen, everyone talks about the different places for restaurants and so forth. Chicago, listen, you could literally live here for 10 years and not eat at the same place and go out every single day. And you could find a great restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah. And that's what, like, just trying the new thing or trying the new spot or going to, this Italian beef stand's got 5 stars, just shit like that. And that's where, like, I realized too, it's like, it's not even like a hungry thing to me, really.
It's an emotional connection with the 5 stars, with the restaurants, with what somebody else tells you, man, I just ate at this Italian beef. It's the best Italian beef you've ever.
Yeah.
And you're like, I've never tried. So what's that happen? That emotional reaction that other person has given you is created, and now your body says, "Oh, I'm hungry. I want to go try it."
And it's like this review culture, especially, working in where you got to give opinions and everything. Yeah. It's like, you rationalize it too, where it's like, yeah, I want to be able to give my take on this or that. And then it's like, that's how maybe you'll rationalize it that way. But then in your mind, it's like, no, I just want to try this shit.
Yeah.
This is what it is. So that's why for me, it's like, I don't know, there's something about even when you'll have a meal, but it's like, oh yeah, I like those. That sounds good. You'll see it. Like advertising's a motherfucker.
Oh, they know exactly what they're doing. The whole supermarket thing is they know when you're walking down the aisle with your kids, what level certain foods have to be and what things, the companies pay big money for that. There's huge studies on whether the food should be, their products should be horizontal or vertical, and all kinds of stuff. And what is that? That's to trigger a emotional response. What happens in fans in the when you go to a game now, obviously we've seen a lot of this. Fans are saying stuff to trigger an emotional response from their best player, so they can get their best play from the best player of the other team, to get that individual out of the mindset that they're supposed to be in. And it's the same thing with happening. When you go, the one thing I do is every time I go work out and I see a person that's overweight, and this is the first time I've never seen them in the gym before or something, I always go pay them a compliment.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't know, they don't know me. Mm-hmm. And I just go in, and everybody looks at them, and people are like, what are they doing in the gym? Or they're bad. And I say, listen, you took an awesome step here to come do this.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting how many people look down on, or kind of are quick to take a shot at the New Year's resolution people. Whereas, like, you're right, it should almost be the opposite, where it's like, hey, yeah, it's going to be a little busier, but if you're going to be talking about fitness and people getting in shape, like, you should, But
listen, encourage those individuals. Don't uplift their emotional state. Don't attack it, because they're already a little hesitant to come into a gym, because you come into a gym and you think everyone's in shape. Yeah. And I said, no, everyone's not. Everyone's really not in shape. But you, just because you're new in there, you stand out, and everybody's kind of looking at you, and so encourage that emotional state. And if you don't see that person there for a little while, and you see them back again, go in and say, hey, listen, well, what's going on? You don't have to have a long conversation. You don't have to have a long conversation with them, but just let them know, encourage those, and keep that emotional state in that individual when they first felt like it on, with New Year's Day, or New Year's, the second, third, whatever they're gonna start with. And when you see them getting the results, acknowledge them, pay attention to this. Say, hey, listen, you look awesome. I could see the weight coming off. Now, be genuine with that individual. Don't BS them. But accountability is extremely important.
Yeah, the emotion thing really hits home, man, because it's like, this place, they're going to make a taco with a Dorito shell. You know what I mean? That's the shit that it's like, wow, and I think just trying the new thing is what.
And everything's, listen, you're considerably younger than I am. The creativity now with food and the way they're able to do stuff, you would just not, when I was growing up, that just, it didn't, a lot of this stuff just didn't exist. I mean, I saw something somewhere was, there was at some ballpark. Was it the
churro hot dog?
I didn't see that one.
But got a churro hot dog in Arizona.
Yeah, okay. I think it was something. It had to do with like a hamburger between two Cinnabons.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cinnabon chicken sandwich.
Yeah, it was something, and I'm just like, all right, so you never. And I'm not a person. To me, I don't like. I like sweets separate than my meal. I don't like it together.
Yeah.
That's
you don't like the.
Yeah, I'm not. To me, I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna. If I'm gonna do the churro hot dog, I'm gonna do the hot dog and then the churro.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Costco. I see you.
I'm not gonna do. But it's just like what you said. That's the way. What happens when you see something new, when you hear about something new, they're trying to get an emotional response from you.
Mm-hmm. And they get it.
Oh, they get it.
They get it.
Listen, that's what marketing departments do. No, that's why they use animals in advertisement. They use babies in advertisement. They know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know?
And we brought this up at some point earlier in the conversation, but I meant to say this last week as well. Like, my goal in all this is, people are like, oh, Tim Grover, he's going to get you jacked. It's like, that's not my intentions at all.
No.
I just want to be healthier. I want to not be ass fat. You
Right.
know, that's the goal.
Right. You want to be, you want to be, and everybody's definition of healthy is not the same. Listen, I've seen individuals at the gym or in different places that don't look like they're in shape, but they're in tremendous amount of shape. They can run on the treadmill. They lift. They do all the different cardio activities. They do all the different things. Now, just because they don't look like they're in shape does not mean that they're not in shape. There's a difference between aesthetically looking like you're in shape and being in shape from the inside out. There's a huge difference.
And there's the opposite too. The
Yeah.
people who look like they're in shape, but really they
don't. Yeah. Just because you're thin or you look thin does not mean you're in shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what year did you start working with Kobe?
Oh my goodness.
Was it after the Shaq years? Do you know?
It was after the Shaq years.
Okay,
Yeah, it was definitely after the Shaq years because he had already won the 3 championships with Shaq. I came on board.
But was it before his other 2?
Oh yeah.
It was?
Definitely. It was before. I think it was 2007. I started with him. It was 2007 because it was the Olympics were in 2008.
Okay, so was that? Yeah, bringing this full circle here, obviously with Juliana coming on here in a couple minutes. Was that where he was kind of plateaued? Because he had that block there where he. It
was 7 years between championship number 3 and championship number 4.
Mm-hmm.
And he just it was at the point where he needed. I always say I'm not the first call you make, I'm the last call.
Mm-hmm.
So he reached out to MJ. He was having some issues with his lower extremities, and he goes, man, I've tried everything possible, and he just said, listen, MJ said, I'm not using my guy. Why don't you give Grover a call? And then we got together, and with Kobe, it was funny thing. You would never consider Kobe as being out of shape, which he never was, right? But I was the first individual that came into his life that told him he had to do less. So to say, in order to be better at what you do, in order to be healthier, in order to be more fit, I need you to do less.
Because you're just going too hard, huh?
Yeah, but see, here's the thing: when you talk about seizing that moment and understanding about being the underdog, is when you think of that championship mentality that these individuals have, they've gotten to that point by doing more than everybody else, doing more than everybody, the next person. But from a physical standpoint, there's certain stages in your career and in your age that you cannot do the same. You cannot do the same things. You actually have to maybe increase the intensity and decrease the volume, or decrease the intensity and increase your volume at certain things. You have to add certain things into your workout. You have to take certain things out. Just if your program and my program would be totally different. If we talked about this a couple of weeks ago and said, if you wanted to get into the gym and if you just wanted to throw up an astronomical amount of weight, you have the frame to do it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I don't. If we both trained if we were the same age and we both trained to try to max bench press, and we were on a 6-month program and we started together, there is no way I'd ever be able to bench press as much as you.
Just based on frame and body size.
Yep. Mm-hmm. The way your arms are, the way your shoulders are built, everything. Couldn't do it. Mm-hmm. Couldn't do it. So what happens is when you look at one athlete or you look at one individual, the training program, the physical and mental program you give for that person is not going to work for the next person. And it's crazy because everybody who's the quote unquote underdog always wants to follow the champion's program. Well, you're not ready for the champion. You're not ready for the champion's program, or the champion's program may not be the program you need to dethrone the champion.
Yeah, you got to start wherever you personally have to start, and we've circled back on that a lot this series, I should say.
And define what you, like you said, what healthy means to you. You know, as how many individuals that you know that go work out at the gym, they eat right, they do all the proper things, and they go get a blood work thing, and they're like, the doctor tells them, your cholesterol's high. All right, and the doctor, well, I need you to eliminate this from your diet. This, I need you to do more. Say, Doc, I do all those things. Well, you just have a predisposition to having high cholesterol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's what, that's the goal for me right now. I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll change my mind at some point, but that's where I'm at right now. And I think that's kind of what, I think this will be the start of week 6 for me.
Yeah. And that's why this is so important. Why everything that we've been talking about is to deal with more with the neck up. Understand what are the triggers that's been going on in your life that create an emotional response for you not to work out, not to eat properly, not to be able to say no to certain things, not to being able to say no to your friends, not be able to say no to certain restaurants, and not to beat yourself up when you do something you're technically not supposed to do, and not overindulge and all the thing. When you overindulge in something, that's an emotional response that's causing you to overindulge in something. And an emotional response could be the group you hang out with.
Yeah.
It could be something that happened at work, or something in your relationship. It could be anything, or somebody just pissed you off.
Yeah. And because I keep getting that too. Now that this is the 6th episode, I keep getting, what's Tim got you under? What kind of program is like? What you're kind of hearing is what it is. Like diet wise, it's been, I told you that 3-month stretch, what I was doing obviously was working. We haven't talked diet at all. Yeah. You just kind of trusted me. We went through this food list episode or a couple episodes ago.
That's an accountability thing. So you get to see what's going on.
Yeah. So that's, diet I've just kind of done on my own. And then, you guys have listened to the weekly workout updates with the stairs and whatnot. I think we forgot to put last ones in the last episode, but it was 20 minutes of stairs.
Yeah.
It's going a little shaky for me right now because of an injury related type issue. But,
right. Which, you know what? Which everybody else will think is a setback, which to me, it's not a setback because it's actually, you're learning to control. Now you have something that we didn't see that came up. And now, how do you handle it from an emotional response standpoint? Mm-hmm. You could just say, you know what, man, since I can't exercise the way I want to exercise, or I can't do this, let me just blow my diet. You know what, when I deal with this thing, I'll start back up. Well, this is actually making your emotional response even stronger, under more control. This is how the underdogs become the champions.
Yeah, and that's you couldn't hit the nail on the head more there, because so many people, and I know I used to, if it's like, if I don't have the workout or the diet at the same time, what's the fucking point?
Right.
But realistically, like, Just the diet can go a long way.
The diet is more, listen, from a weight loss standpoint, I tell people this all the time. From a weight loss standpoint, from aesthetic standpoints, all right, the way you eat is anywhere from 75 to 80% of where your results are going to be. You get an individual who's got a horrible diet, but works out every single day, and you got an individual who understands nutrition or has a better understanding of nutrition and has a eating lifestyle and decides not to work out because they're focusing on that, that person will lose the weight so much quicker than an individual that goes into that works out on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. Yeah. When we had Phil Heath, all right, on board, when professional bodybuilders aesthetically want to look a certain way, all right, they focus more on the nutrition. That becomes more vital than the actual working out portion of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta, the emotional response and, seizing the moment and being an underdog. So this was a very, very interesting conversation, I think, to start the show off. And I think we could just get to Juliana right now and see kind of her story and how she went about, pulling off one of the greatest upsets.
Yeah, you know what? And when we talk about emotional response, and when people talked about the show and they thought that, hey, I'm gonna take Eddie and I are gonna get in the octagon and we're gonna go, we're gonna go do some training in the octagon, and then we got Dwayne Wade, we're gonna go do some training on the basketball court, and we got Russell Wilson, we're gonna go do training in football. Phil Heath, we're gonna go do training on the gym. It's up in the hair first. It's up in here. That's where the training starts. And if you want more about the training, listen, I'm gonna make an announcement here. This is an exclusive. I've done this program called the Down and Dirty, and we kind of put it on a hiatus for a little while. Well, here's the announcement. So we're actually starting up that program again, and if you're interested in it, just go to timgrover.com/dirty and sign up. This is your one opportunity to work with me virtually in a very select group. And we talk about how to deal with emotional responses with setbacks. There will be some health and fitness tips on there. It's a chance to really take your mindset from a mindset to a winning mindset.
Awesome. That's a cool program. So definitely go check that out.
Yeah.
One more time. What was it? timgrover.com//dirty. Go check that out.
Yeah.
And all right, let's kick it over to UFC champion Julianna Peña. Hey everybody, before we get into the interview with Julianna Peña, we want to talk about the Gametime app, our presenting sponsor, Tim. Great spot to go if you need last minute tickets.
Last minute tickets, period. Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody don't go experience an event and experience it the best way possible, whether it's, whatever it is, baseball, basketball, hockey, MMA, whatever it is, with the football season coming up, all this other stuff.
Well, that's what's great. Before we recorded with Juliana, we didn't know when her fight was going to be. They hadn't officially announced it. It's announced now. It's July 30th. It's in Dallas. You could hop on that Gametime app and you could go look for tickets, because I guarantee you after this interview, you're going to be a lot more interested in this fight too if you weren't before. I know I am.
Oh, she's amazing.
Yeah, she's
absolutely
great.
Amazing.
She's great. So go do that. Go use the Gametime app. It's created by fans for fans. It's a new ticketing app that makes it easier than ever to score last-minute deals on tickets to sports, concert, and shows, and they guarantee the lowest price. They really did crack the code on last-minute tickets, and it's a seamless process. It takes 2 taps, no printer needed. It's delivered right to your phone, and the app allows you to share it with friends very easily, too, via text. So go use it. Skip the hassle. Enjoy the moment. Download the Gametime app. Go to the account tab to create a new login and redeem code REBUILD for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Download Gametime. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. All right, let's get into Julianna Peña. All right, so we're now joined by UFC champ Julianna Peña.
Hold on, we got to give a better thing than that.
Well, like we said,
yeah, that's.
Well, you literally said we went over this. You do it.
No, you do it. You do it, Brian.
We are now joined by UFC champion Julianna Peña. Julianna, we're happy you're our first in studio guest. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here, guys.
Obviously, like the big thing is the Nunes fight. Everyone, what the coolest thing that I found, just doing research for this interview and whatnot, was like it seems like the only person who thought they were going to win was you, and the way that you're going at everybody, the way you're seeing everyone, like you picked against me, you took names, didn't you, of who was saying whatever. Like how much did that factor in leading up? Like were you going through that or what people were saying beforehand?
I try not to put too much attention into what they're saying because, it was like the odd makers will say all this stuff. It's like, how does this guy know? What does he know about MMA? You know what I mean? He knows nothing. But then I see like some of my guys like heroes, that I like love, and then they're picking against me and I'm like, dude, you're breaking my heart. You know what I mean? I like you, like I'm a fan and you're picking against me. Like, and it's hard not to take it personal,
Yeah.
But yeah, all the chips were stacked against me. Everyone, didn't think I had a snowball chance in hell. And I was not going to be deterred by that. I know what I'm capable of and I know what my skill set is and I know what level I'm at. So, you lock me in the cage with anybody in my weight class and, I guarantee you they're going to remember that they were in a fist fight with me.
Mm-hmm. Who was the biggest name you took? What was the person that you were like, I love this guy. I'm so sad.
Ryan Clark. Ryan Clark for sure. Yeah, he broke my heart.
Yeah.
He apologized though. Yeah, he came back. Yeah. I actually, my agent told me when I was in Texas, hey, you're going to this podcast. So I just showed up there. I Ubered there. And the next second I knew, they were like, you're going on Ryan Clark's podcast. I'm not going on Ryan Clark's podcast. I'm so mad at him. Like I want nothing to do with them. And they're like, well, tell him, let him know. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. If I ever would have known it was Ryan Clark's podcast, there's no way I would have showed up. And so I got there and like right away, I just started flipping him crap. And so it's all water under the bridge. I know how it is, it's hard to pick, you want everyone to win, fans win, but their job is to pick and give their analysis. So I understand. I get it.
And does it feel like you beat Goliath? Like, do you look at it that way? Because like for a lot of people just watching her every fight you watch, she's just mowing everyone down.
Yeah. I absolutely feel that way. I have a big, strong faith in God. I go to church every Sunday. And when I was in this scenario, it's hard not to be consumed by every thought of the fight. I'm constantly thinking about it. It's like these demons are trying to attack my mind and trying to weigh me down. And so that faith in God and like you said, that Goliath, that David and Goliath, I just had to keep reminding myself, my giant is defeated. My giant is defeated. I'm going to slay the dragon. I'm going to beat Goliath. And so that was kind of the theme that I had running up through the whole camp. And it's actually still the theme that I, carry with me on a day-to-day basis.
So we always talk about, everyone goes in and says, hey, you go into a fight, you go into something with make sure you have a chip on your shoulder. I'm always like, never go into anything with a chip on your shoulder. You know why? Because if you carry a chip on your shoulder, that means I can come in and just knock it off. Carry the chip inside, and that's what you do. That way, only you can touch it. Only your faith, only your mindset. Forget about what anybody else has to say. What they have to say about. There's no experts out there. You're the expert. You know the training that you put behind. You know the dedication that you put in. Everybody else is just trying. They're just guessing.
Right.
They're just guessing like everybody else and say, okay, hey, this is going to be the end result. But the interesting that what you said was you took everything that everybody said, and to me, your mindset was, listen, I'm not going in to prove anybody wrong. I just need to go prove myself right.
Right.
I've put in the time. I've put in the effort. I know I belong here. I know I belong here. And everybody thinks, well, you got to fight her. Yeah, but guess what? She's got to fight me too. I belong in this. I've earned my right to be in this octagon.
Right. I think about that often. I think I'm not getting locked in the cage with her. She's getting locked in the cage with me.
Yeah.
I'm the problem in here. It's almost like the Chicago mentality. It's like when you're walking down the street, you don't need to be worrying about all these people on the street. They need to be worried about me. You know what I mean? Because I'm dangerous. And so I think that that's true. It's not a chip that I carry on my shoulder, but it's this chip inside that I let it wake me up and go train 3 times a day. I use it as my motivation to make sure that I'm hitting my practices and putting in that mat time and do everything in my power to make sure that at the end of the day, I've already made peace with the fact that I'm going to live and that I'm going to die, but I can go in there confidently knowing that nobody can take away the amount of work that I've put in, and no one's out here grinding harder than me. And when I have that in the back of my mind, that gives me the confidence to know, like, it doesn't matter what happens, because I'm going to go in there and I'm going to get in a fist fight, and no one can save her. No one can save me. And it literally boils down to just me and what I'm capable of and what I know I'm capable of. And so I don't focus on what she does. I don't focus on what she's good at. She's going to have to worry about what I'm doing, and I will adapt and be ready for whatever she brings.
Yeah, it's amazing. And the way you said, obviously your sport is just you and that other individual. Yeah, you have coaches and so forth, but they're not in there with you. They can give you advice, they can see things, all that, but they're not really seeing and feeling exactly what you're seeing and what's going on. It's a completely different mindset. It's a completely different view. It's a completely different focus than people from the outside.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a very lonely feeling, because yes, it takes a team, it takes a village to get me to that point. But then once you get in there, you know, the camera guys leave, everyone leaves, and it's just like, you mean it's just me and you? Like,
you wouldn't want it any other way.
That's right. You wouldn't, you know, and the only person that everything boils down to is me, you know, yeah. and that's what I love. I love team sports. Of course, I grew up playing team sports, but it's an individual sport, and it really boils down to just me and me only. And that's what I enjoy the most about it. It's mano a mano, toe to toe. We're going to see what you got and we're going to see what I got, and may the best woman win.
Yep.
Have you always been this confident in yourself?
No, absolutely not. And in many ways, there's a lot of insecurities that I still, you know, battle with on a daily basis.
Such as?
I grew too quickly for my body, I feel like, at a young age. So by the time I was in the 4th grade, I had stretch marks all over my body, like as if a woman had, you know, 6 kids. Mm-hmm. And so I never wear a regular swimsuit because I'm so insecure about all the stretch marks that I have. And I know stretch marks are normal. Everybody has stretch marks, but it's something that, like, I wouldn't ever fight in a sports bra like other women, because I don't want everyone seeing my stretch marks. I think it looks horrible. So, like, in my mind, I still have this version of my head. I would consider it extreme body dysmorphia, where I'm like, you know, I talk very negatively about myself sometimes, and I'm like, you're disgusting, you're ugly, you know, you're fat, you know, and I don't like that, but it's something that, like, I can't shake, because when I look in the mirror, I see these stretch marks. And so.
And you know what's amazing? We're talking to the individual who is literally the best at what she does in her weight class. Number 1, the champ. And they have insecurities. And I always try to tell people this. I've worked with some of the top athletes in the world. Every single individual, the best of best, athletes, business, everybody thinks they're confident in everything they do, the way they feel, the way they look, the way they speak, the way they go out in public, the way they are in private, the way they are in their relationship, everything. And I just tell them, it is not true. They have insecurities and deficiencies just like everybody else, but they don't let those things get in the way of being the best. They understand it's a part of them, and they use it to their advantage and to get what they want.
Exactly. And I also think that it has helped me in a way, because it's easy to, you know, take your clothes off and sell something on Instagram and be this, you know, sexy model. But I'm trying to do it in a classy way where it's like, I don't have to take my clothes off to get people to, you know, want to be invested in what I do. And so it's almost like a thing that's benefited me in another way as well, because I got a daughter and I want to be able to set a great example for her. I don't want her to, you know, years from now be on Instagram and seeing her mom being half naked looking, you know, what. I'm not trying to knock anybody for doing that. You know, get your paper boo-boo, do what you got to do. But for me, it's kind of put me in a situation where it's like, I have to figure out a way to market myself in a different way that's not necessarily about taking my clothes off and, you know, trying to be like the sex sells type of person. Right. But you're absolutely right. I'm a human. I'm a human just like everybody else. And I have feelings, you know, sometimes I get in my feelings, but I don't let that deter me from the task at hand and what the ultimate goal is. And the ultimate goal is to get my hand raised at any and all costs. And I can guarantee you when I'm fighting in there, I'm not thinking about my stretch marks. I promise you that.
Your mind is stronger than your feelings.
That's right.
That's it. When did you start? Like, when did you, all right, no, let's go back. When was your first fight? I'm talking about not as a professional. I'm talking about when you were a kid. I know you remember this.
Yeah, no, my first fight was getting the crap kicked out of me by my brothers and sisters. Like, I'm the baby of 4.
That's where it all starts.
Yeah, no, I'm the baby of 4, and my brother was obsessed with WWE wrestling, and he knocked our coconut heads together more times than I can count. I mean, the guy was literally so aggressive, and he had 3 younger sisters, so he just beat the snot out of us. And I remember in early age, there was a competition between me and my other middle child sister where he would mess with me and I would be so tough and my other sister would cry and he'd be like, I'm not going to mess with you. You cry all the time. But then he'd switch it and he'd be like, I'm not going to mess with you. You cry all the time. You're a crybaby. You can't take it. But no, I'm tough. I can take it. You know what I mean? Like, come on, come at me, you know, like beat me up, you know? And so there was a competition between me and my sister of who could take the most punishment. And so, you know, growing up, they would beat me up, my sisters too. And finally one day I was like, I'm going to Hulk out. I swear to God, I'm going to Hulk out and I'm going to just beat the crap out of you. And I mean, that was the last time my sister touched me. And my brother, he still, you know, beat me up for many, many years up until I think I was probably training for about 6 years on Christmas. You know, he threw me into the Christmas tree and we were always roughhousing. But then the next Thanksgiving in front of his 5 boys, I choked him out in the front lawn and he never messed with me ever again.
In front of how many people?
He has 5 boys.
Ah.
And so I choked him out in front of his 5 boys and I said, I stepped on top of him, winner! Like, don't you ever touch me again. It's over. Like, I finally got that redemption. You know, my brother's a real big guy. And so I finally got that redemption and it felt so good to get that back, you know, to say, you know, you can't beat me up anymore.
So do you have any feelings anytime you see a Christmas tree?
I mean, I just always think of, he used to live in Arizona, so I always just think of that Christmas tree in Arizona and me literally going flying into it, you know? But it was all in good fun. Of course, I don't take it personally. I'm literally like, thanks for beating me up, guys. You know what I mean? I made a career out of it now.
Yeah,
so.
Made a championship career out of it.
Yeah, they're proud of me. They're really proud of me.
They should be.
Yeah.
Now, here's a question for you. Are you proud of yourself or is there more left to do?
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those demons and it gets me emotional because not only did they think that it was a fluke, but now they're saying, okay, yeah, she's the champ and she did it, but she hasn't even defended her belt. So she ain't shit. You know what I mean? And so that type of feeling, it makes me angry. And those are those demons that are trying to get to me to bring me down. And so my job, like I said, that chip on the inside is to wake up every single day so that when it goes and it happens again, I'm going to say, I told you guys, and now you're going to put some respect on my name. And yeah, it absolutely, there's way more to be done. I don't want to be that person that just went and won the belt one time and then, you know, it left her hands after the first defense. Like that. I can't. It's what I wake up for every day.
Emotional response.
Yeah, we talked about
I'm sorry, I need to like be taught like to not have the emotional response.
No. The whole thing we talked about before you got here was just the emotional response about how that's how everything is affected, right?
Yeah, everything about how the way society is set up, the way advertising is set up, the way TV is set up, the way commentating is set up, everything is done. You know, when you talked about Ryan Clark, is to get emotional response.
Right.
Is to get emotional, and most emotional responses when they're triggered by somebody else or by something external are not in your control. And when they're not in your control, you end up weakening your mental state. Your mental state. You give in.
Yeah.
You give in now, because now what happens is, you know, I'm no professional psychiatrist or psychologist, but you going into that fight, if you're going in there and you're worried and you look into the crowd or you look into people and, you know, that person said that about you and you said that person that said about you, that person said that about you, that person said that about you. Now you have all these emotional responses going in there that you get out of the zone. You can't focus on the task that's in hand. You know, we talked about this earlier about like, listen, you know, people always say this, you know, I perform best under the bright lights. Well, the best of the best don't even notice the lights.
Right.
They could be pitch black in there. The lights could be pink. They could be blue. They could be purple. They could be red. They could be bright. They could be dim. they're so locked in on what the task at hand that everything going on externally doesn't exist for that moment. It just doesn't.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think that on some level, I have this big same personality as my dad, where he gives no Fs. He gives no Fs. He doesn't care if Joe Blow likes him. He doesn't care if this person says this, or like he'll walk into a store wearing my mom's pajamas. He don't care. You know what I mean? And I have that about me. But then there's that other aspect where I'm like, I just want everyone to like me. You know, right. And I want everyone to be my friend. But if they're not, I don't care. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. But at the same time, it's just one of those things where it's like, I want everyone to join me on my journey and to like be friends and like, let's do this together, you know? And so sometimes it like breaks my heart that they talk like that. But at the same time, I have this other aspect where I'm like, I don't let it affect me, because these guys are just hanging out in their mom's basement on the computer doing absolutely nothing with their lives. So why am I going to sweat it? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And then listen, as what'll happen is, you know, as your championship reign continues and gets gets larger, your circle is going to have to get even smaller and smaller and smaller. It's so important, because what happens is now all those people that criticize you, didn't believe in you, now all of a sudden they start to pull, and they actually start to weigh. The people that attacked you, your haters, your critics, all those different things, is now they're like, man, this person is for real.
Yeah.
So now let's hold on.
Yeah.
And the more people you let hold on, the more they actually weigh, they start weighing you down. So your circle gets even smaller. You look at all the champions in all the different sports, ones that have maintained that status for a very, very long time. The people that they started with, they may have been in their corner, they may have been training with, they may have been are no longer part of there, because their growth stopped.
Yeah. And
your growth, in order to do what's next for you, has to continue, and that sometimes comes with the disconnect and deleting, because if you continue to add, now you're trying to juggle too many things and too many individuals, too many personalities, all at the same time.
And I think about this, and I think about these leeches, these vampire energies, these people that are trying to, you know, ride the coattails. And so I just want, here, take the coat, you can have it. I'll buy a new one. You know what I mean? Like I want nothing to do with this, people. It's difficult to see people's true intention, because now, since winning, everybody's going to show me their best face.
Of course.
Everybody's going to show me, you know, smiles and happy and they're perfect. You know what I mean? So to wade through those waters can be a little bit difficult. What does this person want? What is their intentions? In fact, it was funny because Ryan picked against me, and now he's asking me if he can come to Chicago and come watch me train. And I'm like, wait a second. Like, I thought you hated me. You thought I sucked. I didn't stand a chance. And now you want to come watch me train. I mean, I'll let him, you know, I got to let the media in a little bit, you know, so I understand that. And I have nothing personally against Ryan Clark.
Make sure he reimburses you for that Uber ride first.
Yeah.
That's the first thing he's got to do.
Yeah, literally. You know, and I love Ryan. I think he's great. You know, it's not anything personal. It's just to say that, and I'm not trying to say by any means he's a leech or anything like that. No. But there's people that are going to show you your best faces, and to try to get to figure out people's real intentions is difficult. I'm very happy with the fact that, you know, I have this loyalty about me where I want to stick with the people that have helped me. Mm-hmm. I'm not originally from Chicago. I'm from Spokane, Washington. And Rick Little was the first guy that taught me how to punch. And he's been, you know, my head coach for 13 years. And we'll be together forever. You know what I mean? That's sticking by him and always having him in my corner is something that gives me comfort. It gives me peace, you know, to know that like he knows me like the back of my hand. Sure. He knows what I'm thinking before I'm thinking it. You know what I mean? And vice versa. And then the team that I have created out here, I do train at different gyms, but it is such a small, tight-knit group that I have, and to be quite honest, every day I wake up and I think, I am so lucky. I am so grateful that I have these amazing coaches, these amazing mentors in my life that they care. They glove up with me every Friday and they get down and beat me up. You know, they're getting strangled on the mats every single day with me. They're putting in the time, and they've been putting in the time for about 7 years since I've lived here.
Is that something unique where in your sport, that training at different facilities at different times and different locations? Like you said, before we started this, you were like, hey, I literally work out at 3 different gyms and different place with your strength and conditioning. So you're literally, your week doesn't just say, hey, I go to the same place every single day, all the everything is there and so forth. You have to go to different places to get that end result.
Yeah, and it's such a major contrast from my hometown of Spokane, because it was just me and Rick. It was a one-stop shop. The gym was 5 minutes away from my house, and that's all I needed, and that's all I ever did. Then when I moved to Chicago, I live in my car. I live in my car. I am constantly going from place to place to place on a daily basis, to and from and to and from and to and from. And it's because these guys, they specialize in different things. One guy is a boxing coach, and when I go into the boxing gym, I put my boxing hat on. Then I go to the jiu-jitsu gym and I put my grappling hat on. Then I go to the MMA gym and I'm doing it all there in the MMA gym, and I'm trying to take the boxing component and the jiu-jitsu component and I'm trying to put it all together in the cage wrestling and in the wrestling and the live goes. And then I, of course, have strength and conditioning at Northwestern with Alex Spanos, and that's, in Evanston. So I have to go to these different places because I have to get these experts and get their expertise, advice in that facility. And then I have to find a way to take the good, throw out the rest, and figure out a way to make it all blend together, because, it's mixed martial arts. It's not just one thing. It's many different disciplines. There's too many ways to win, and I have to be versed everywhere.
And it's so the point I want to bring, there was a reason for bringing that up. All right. She literally goes to minimum of 3 places a day. 4 a day.
Oh, no, not a day. 3 a day.
3 a day. 3 a day.
Sometimes 2.
Okay. Well, let's say 2 to 3. That it's never just 1.
Yeah.
All right. It's never just 1. In order to be the best of the best, what you sacrifice, what you give up. And this program is called Rebuild. We got individuals that literally can't make it to the gym in one location twice a week.
Yeah.
But then they look at you and they're like, and then what you just said earlier, that says, and you said this, that, you're lucky to have all these people in your corner. You created that luck.
Yeah.
You created those contacts. You created that discipline to be able to go to this place, this place, this place, this place, in order to be able to produce at the highest results. So in order for you to constantly rebuild yourself into a better fighter, into a stronger mental giant, into a stronger faith. Those are the things those are non-negotiable for you.
Yeah. How bad do you want it? You know what I mean? How bad do you want it? At the end of the day, I'm married to the game. I'm married to the game. I have been putting my time in for 13 years. It's not something that just happened overnight. It's not something that I just wished for, or, she got lucky and, she just happened to win. No, dude, I work so hard and I'm married to the game. I don't think about anything else. I don't let anything else distract me on a Friday night when everyone's, going out drinking, hanging out with their friends, going to the movies, doing what they do. I'm going into the boxing ring at 7:30 at night and I'm getting my tail kicked in.
I need you to repeat that one more time.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, on a Friday night, I go to the boxing gym and I'm getting beat up. I'm getting beat up everywhere I go. I'm getting beat up,
And how many people and how many people do you get for regular basis on a text or on a phone call? Say, listen, you've been at this for 8 weeks in a row. If I come and hang out with us, or if I take a Friday, nothing's gonna happen. You're gonna be okay. You need a break. Everyone's an expert telling you what you need to do, and trying to distract you from what your ultimate prize is.
Well, and at the end of the day, everyone knows what I'm trying to do, but at the same time, they think that I can go to, for example, I won. Hey, we're going to give you, an extravagant amount of money to show up here and do a signing. What do you say? Why would you turn down this amount of money? You could offer me $1 million and I'd still tell you no. You know what I mean? It's not about the money. It's about the fact that I got a fight coming up. There's going to be a really angry girl standing across the cage from me. And when I'm sitting there, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm so glad that I took that signing for 10 grand. You know what I mean? I'm going to be like, man, I wish I skipped that signing because I got this girl and I wish I would have put some more time on the mats, and there's no amount of money that can suffice for that, because at the end of the day, I'm doing the real business in there. I'm getting in a fist fight and it's important. It's a life or death situation to me.
Literally.
No, people think that that's crazy to say. It's not really life or death. You know what I mean? It's not. But to me, it is. To me, it's a life or death situation. And no amount of money is going to make me feel better about the fact that, I went out and drinking, you know what I mean? It's like, no, dude, you should have been training. And that to me is more important than having fun right now. You want to go have fun? Establish yourself first. You want to go out and party and do all this stuff? That's fine. You can do that. But are you established? Do you have money in the bank that you can, live comfortably on for the rest of your life? I sure as heck know that I don't. And that's my goal. I need to stack my chips. And right now is the time to do that. It's not party time right now. It's grind time right now. I got to go get my money.
So do you feel like then it's maybe a good thing that this Amanda rematch is going to happen because it's not allowing you to kind of take your foot off the gas? Like you're tired of those people saying, oh, one hit wonder, let's see her do it again. So now you're at this position where you're literally just rolling over your mindset and your training or whatever you had before, I would assume. So is that like, in a way, you're really kind of, it's a good thing that you get to try to do it again.
Well, we don't know. Is that
I'm assuming.
We're assuming.
I'm assuming.
I've been told that we're going to rematch in the summer. I don't have an exact date. I can't say for sure. But absolutely. Alex says this all the time. He literally said, all gas, no brakes. All gas, no brakes. You know what I mean? Like we're going and this is the time to go. And you got to strike while the iron's hot. And you have to do this right now. I'm in the prime of my life. If I take time off, if I step off the gas, if I don't, take it seriously, this sport is always evolving. MMA is constantly evolving. And if you're not evolving with it, you're going to get left in the dust and it's going to be very dangerous for you to get locked back in that cage. Ring rust is real and it will show up in your fight. So I can't right now. This is not the time to be dancing and ha-ha he-heaves. This is the time to be focused and dedicated and determined and literally being a Kentucky Derby racehorse and putting my blinders on. I'm not looking to the left. I'm not looking to the right. I'm looking at the finish line. And that's all I see right now. That's all I see. I cannot allow anything to penetrate. These energy vampires, these leeches, any drama, it's a cancer to me. And I can't have it. I cut it out immediately. I don't have time for it. I really don't.
Mm-hmm.
So the one thing that I want to talk to you that's interesting, I always say, everybody talks about individuals and you've gotten this, I know you've gotten this, all right? You need more balance in your life. you need more balance. No, you got it. And I say the best of the best, they have in certain times in their life, they literally don't have balance. They don't. You can talk to any individual in any industry. I don't care if they're an educator. If they're the best educator in that school, they're living a life that is not balanced. And the one thing that you have that's interesting is you also have a child.
That's right.
How old?
She's 4. She turned 4 in January.
4. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So if you don't mind, let's talk about the balance, quote unquote, in your life.
That's what, and when you said that, I said the only balance that I could consider that I have in my life is my daughter. And she brings me right back down to reality, because she don't care, she's a child, she's a baby, and so she's the best thing that ever happened to me. I know parents say this about their kids, right? They're always like, my kid's the best. Like, my kid really is the best. Like, she's awesome. She's so cool. She's the coolest kid ever. Like, she's literally amazing. And she gives me that dose of reality every day, and she balances me out in the sense that it's like, Yeah, you're fighting, but your mom first, and your daughter comes first, and your family comes first, you know? And I'm doing this all for her and for us, so that I can create a life for us, so that when she gets older, I don't have to wonder, how am I going to scrounge up $10 to buy a new shirt? You know what I mean? And so in the sense, it's all for her. But she knows what the real stuff is, and she knows that mama's got to work, and that mama trains every day, and you know, she's right along there with me. And she sees the work that I do. She sees the amount of dedication that I put in. And so, you know, in some ways I have no balance. I don't have a personal life, but in some other ways I do have balance, because, you know, I do have a daughter, and I am a mother.
Right. But you get to choose what you do, what you want to balance.
Right. And that's the only thing that I feel worth my time of balancing.
Right. And how you want to balance it. But it's funny that you said, even though she's 4, all right, what did you say? She understands.
Yeah.
Kids are very perceptive. When you set an example for them, when you're that ultra focused and you're seeing what's going on, and that she knows when it's mom time and when it's your time, and they have an understanding that, hey, we're in this together. Hey mom, I know when you win, I win.
Right.
We get to win together. It's just not for one. It's just like, you know, when you see, one of the questions I asked Kobe Bryant when I was writing the new book, Winning, I was like, you know, describe winning? And he said, you know, winning is everything. And I said, elaborate on that a little bit more. He goes, well, how do you feel when I win? I said, it's unbelievable. I said, how do you feel when your kids win? I said, you know, you can't get that. You can't get that feeling anywhere else. All right. And he goes, the kids feel the same way when they see you win, and so forth and so forth. It's a connection there that is just so hard to describe.
And the only people that would understand that is people that compete. People that put it all on the line, people that are gambling everything on themselves, people that are literally going to go do the things that only a few people can do. There's a very fine line that I walk. There's a very hot fire that I'm walking through. And not a lot of people can walk through that fire. Maybe they could in their own sports, you know, but in my sport, it takes a very weird certain type of individual to say, hey, I want to go get punched in the face for a living. You know, only a certain amount of people can do that. So by me doing this as a career and being competitive and getting my hand raised inside that octagon, there's no feeling like it. None. And the only person that can understand that is somebody else that has competed, that knows difference between winning and losing and putting it all on the line.
And then the only way to get that feeling and high again is to get your hand raised again.
Right.
And again, you can't get it done. You can't get it done any other way.
Right.
That's why very few athletes win over and over and over again.
Right.
I mean, you know, if this fight does happen in the summer, and you know all the things it worked out, I'm no expert at this. I don't know what's gonna happen and everything, but a good guess is, even though you're the champ, you may still be the underdog.
Yep. And I will.
Yeah.
I absolutely will.
You know, I didn't want to disrespect you and say that, but you know, that's yeah, it's going to be. And then one of the things that we talked about earlier is, when you're even a champion, you never lose that underdog mentality. No. Even though you've won. Even though you won. So Vegas most likely would be like, all right, you know what? Nah, she is a champ. She won last time, but she's still gonna be the underdog.
Right. And you know, it's happened to me time and time again. I mean, when I was on The Ultimate Fighter, Dana White allowed women into the UFC in 2013, and he allowed us to be on The Ultimate Fighter for the first season. And I was a dark horse. Nobody gave me any respect. They all counted me out, and I ended up winning the whole show. It's kind of been the trajectory of my career for since I started in the UFC. I'm always the underdog, you know what I mean? But like I said earlier, when they get locked in the cage and they shut the doors, when they're looking across the cage from me, they're not thinking, oh, I'm just going to go cream this underdog real quick. Nah, they're not thinking that. They're not thinking, oh, Juliana's just an underdog, I'm just going to run through her in 2 seconds, you know? It's never happened. So even though people would consider me an underdog, and even though I probably will and the odds come out as the underdog, again, blinders. I don't let that pay any attention to what I have to do. I don't let that seep into my mind. I don't let that come into play at all, because I'm not allowing people to put me into this box. I'm not allowing people to, say, oh, she's just an underdog. No, I'm so much more than that. And it was so satisfying to, let everyone know, I told you so. I said exactly what I was going to do. I told you exactly how I was going to win. I predicted this 5 years ago, and I told you back then 5 years ago what I was going to do and how I was going to win. And I did it. So now you have no choice but to shush. But they're going to say it again, and they're going to do it again, and they're going to put me in this box, and I'm going to say, I don't wear that hat. You guys can go put that hat on somebody else. That's not me. That's not who I am. I'm not this underdog.
And it's funny, what you said earlier was gambling on yourself.
Right.
Is how many individuals will not gamble on themselves?
Yeah.
They just won't gamble on themselves.
It's hard. It's hard. And I think that it would be harder if you knew that you didn't put in the work. But since I know that I've put in the work, then it's easy to say, I'm going to bet on myself. And just to, circle back real quick, there's nothing wrong with being an underdog. There's nothing wrong with people saying that you're an underdog. In fact, I relish in that it makes it so much sweeter when you win, it makes it so much better when everyone counted you out and you had, the biggest upset in UFC history. It's not something that I think is like a slight in any means. It just means to say that people just don't know. And it makes me happy to say, hello, I'm here. I'm the champion. Come on this journey. It's
emotional response. It's what emotion does that response trigger? I mean, you see individuals, all right, if they're laughing, they're happy, right? Usually associate laughing with somebody being happy. When you see somebody crying, they can also be happy.
Right.
So but when you see people crying, the emotional response can go it can go either way. But there's these tears of joy. People that they see how many individuals that after your hand was raised and that belt was put around you, they were in tears. They were happy.
Yeah.
What emotional response is you're going to allow your brain to trigger.
Right.
Yeah.
And that happens to me when I get into these, it's a lot of pressure in fighting.
Pressure's a privilege, though.
Yes, it is. It's a lot of pressure, and sometimes it'll bring me down to my knees. But I'm not crying out of fear. I'm not crying because I'm scared. I'm not crying because I don't think I can do it. I'm crying because I know I'm gonna win, and I know that I feel protected in a sense. Like, you're good. It doesn't matter. Like, be happy, and I am happy when I'm crying like that. Those are good moments for me. Those are moments where I know, that I'm being touched and that I'm being protected and that everything is gonna be okay, and that is very comforting for me. And going back to that gambling on yourself, who's going to believe in you if you don't believe in yourself? Well, if you don't even believe in yourself, how can you expect other people to believe in you?
I'm big on this thing where people always come around and say, they don't believe in my dreams. They're your dreams.
Yeah.
Why the hell they got their own dreams? Why are they going to believe in your dreams?
Right.
It's your responsibility to believe in your dreams, believe in your results. If you're not going to gamble on yourself, why should anybody else?
Right.
Why should anybody else? And when you talked about pressure, I said pressure is a privilege. You know what pressure does? Pressure defines who an individual can become. That's what it is about. So what you've done in your whole career is you don't run away from pressure. You run to it. You thrive off the pressure. You wouldn't know what to do if you weren't put in a pressure situation.
I know, and yeah. I think about that sometimes. I think about, like, I feel like I'm gonna explode, know. But at the same time, I'm the only one built and made for this type of thing, and only other fighters or anybody else that competes on any sort of serious, high level understand that, know. It's up to the individual. And like you said, it is a privilege, because there's people that would be dying for a main event spot. There's people that would be dying to be a world champion. You know what I mean? And so to me, it's a gift. It's something that I never want to take for granted, and that I'm always, very grateful and thankful for on a daily basis. I live, as much as it's crazy to say that I fist fight for a living, I live a very blessed best life. And I'm very lucky to be able to do something that I love for a career.
And you know what I say? Everybody wants to sit in that seat till they have to sit in that seat. You know, everybody says, oh, yeah, I can be the champ, when they find, oh, you know what? I got to go to 2 to 3 different places every single day. This is what I have to do. This is how I train. I know I literally, I'm getting kicked, punched upside the head, put in these different positions that the body's not supposed to be in. And everybody say, yeah, I can do that. And I was like, no, you can't.
Yeah.
No, you cannot.
That's what they say, right? Everybody wants to be a lion until it's time to do lion stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
What's the biggest difference between you now versus some of the lows, like the Jermaine fight and the Valentina fight? What's the difference?
I would say, talk about fighting and emotional responses, fighting emotionally, fighting, not taking people probably as serious as I should have, and not giving them, I think, the respect that they deserved. I would say immaturity, you know. And then I would also say, in a sense, everyone asks me, so how does it feel? How has your life changed? Da, 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 da. I feel exactly the same. I feel like, aside from my phone being a bit busier, I still have this gigantic target on my back, and I relish in that. But at the same time, there's so much work to be done, because no matter where I go, somebody's always going to try to measure up to me in any place or any practice that I go to. They're going to try to say, hey, I did really well against the champ today. Or, hey, I made sure that the champ got, the best of me, and that I made sure that she felt really good in practice today. No, it's going to be like, I made the champ work. I made the champ do this. And so everywhere I go, people are constantly measuring themselves to me so that they can, feel good about themselves. I don't know. But the point is I feel the same. I'm still working hard. Nothing has changed, aside from the phone being busier, and aside from, having a little bit more media obligations. I'm still grinding every single day. I'm still putting in the work. And I think that the difference of when I fought Valentina, when I fought Jermaine, those were things where I was emotionally immature. I allowed distractions to get in the way. When I was fighting Valentina, that's when I moved to Chicago. I met a guy. I moved into his house after knowing him for 2 weeks, and I moved my entire life from Spokane, Washington to Chicago. And if you look back in the countdown, you could pretty much get a read on who's going to win the fight, because she's out in Russia punching trees and kicking, these trees down. And you look at my countdown for the UFC countdown, and I'm over here walking the dogs in love, drinking café con leche with this new dude that I just met, And so it was like, my head was in the clouds, I allowed the love and the distraction of having a personal life get in the way of what I needed to do. And that was to be a cold stone killer. And so
when did you decide that you just want to become a dog? Like, when were you?
I think I've always been a dog. Yeah. I think I've always had that dog inside of me. But I think that being
just the breed of dog changed.
Yeah, no, the being the emotionally immature, I think, is what has changed in me, and putting some respect on these girls' names. When I fought Valentina Shevchenko, she's a 13-time Muay Thai world champion. Yeah. In my mind, I'm thinking, dude, I've been doing this for a long time. All I got to do is take this girl down to the ground. She's done, Yeah. I had her in an armbar in the first round. If I would have had 10 more seconds, I would have finished in an armbar. I took her down. In the second round, I took her down again. I'm beating her. I'm beating the brakes off of her until I'm like going to punch a hole through her face, and I'm getting caught in an armbar, just by thinking she doesn't know jiu-jitsu. She doesn't know an armbar. She's a 13-time Muay Thai world champion. She doesn't even know anything on the ground, Yeah. And that's where I messed up. I thought, if I take her down, the fight's won. It's over. But at this high of a level, everybody's versed everywhere. And it doesn't matter how many belts they've won in boxing or in Muay Thai. You have to assume that they're dangerous everywhere, and that includes the ground. Yeah. So I think that I quit overlooking her. When I fought Jermaine, I think she is the best striker in the division, and I'm backing her up. If you look at the stats, I outstruck her, and I'm like, great, I'm beating her up too. And then I just made a simple mistake. And I think that this sport is a game of inches. It really is. And if you mess up for a half a second, it's over. The fight's done. Yeah. And so those things of just fight IQ and being more emotionally or physically aware of what's going on inside the cage and having a better fight IQ is something that comes with experience. If you look back to the Valentinas and the Jermaines and everything like that, or the Ronda Rouseys. They've been, doing judo since they were 4 years old. They've been competing, Sarah McMahon, in the Olympics for wrestling and won silver in the Olympics. They've been growing up their entire lives doing combat sports. And I threw my first punch at 19 years old, and any amount of fights that I have has been under the lights. I've never, competed on any other stage other than the amount of experience that I was getting in that fight at that time. So I'm baptism by fire in MMA. I'm learning as I go on the job, through every single fight. And it's just all about experience. And so sometimes I think that them having more cage time or more combat sports experience has kind of seeped into my head a little bit. And that's where I feel like I've said, I don't care. I don't care how many belts you won. I don't care how good of a striker you are. I have to just focus on what I can do and not what you do. And if I do that, then I'll be fine.
Do you feel like Dana's fully bought into Julianna Pena?
I think he has, yeah. But I also think that, he's a little bit bummed that, his little golden goose got, tapped out. Of course, it's so much better for them financially to have this girl who's never been beaten in 7 years, never been tapped out, never lost, and has belts in 2 weight classes. She's fought the who's who of the division, and she's slayed all those giants, and so of course they're not thinking I have a chance, and they want her to win because it looks better for the promotion, it looks better for the UFC. And so they weren't expecting me to win. I literally looked at them after the fight and all of their jaws are to the floor, and I just think that I was like, sorry to ruin your day, guys, sorry, but what am I gonna do? It's not anything that's rigged by any means. And so it's up to the individual.
Yeah. And you don't want that $1 million signing thing. You want the bag from Dana. I heard you say that.
I do. That's I want the bag. Yeah. And I told him that. He said, babe, you got a really great deal. We gave you a great deal. I said, I want more, because at the end of the day, look, my coach was telling me this the other day. He got me into this sport, and no one knows except for me and except for him how much my body has went through, how much stuff I've had to endure, how much adversity that I've had to go through. Now is the time to get the money. Now is the time to get paid because of how much hard work and dedication that I put into it. Yeah. So it's my job to make people emotionally invested in my fight, whether they're invested in my success or my loss. I don't care. I just need people to come on this journey with me and to be invested in my career. So that way I can, make sure that I'm set up, because I work hard, and it is fighting. It's a combat sport. It takes a lot of toll on your body. It's different from any other sport. It's very hard on the body. It's a constant train wreck. I think the only people else that would know that is football players. Football players are the only ones that are constantly train wrecking all the time, and they get paid millions. So I'm just like, can we just get just $1 million, just $1 million? It would be nice. It would be great, because I feel, in a sense, and this is going to sound horrible, but I deserve it. Dang it, I deserve it.
You do deserve it.
Yes,
you do deserve it. That's what you have your agent for.
Yep.
And you and the agent are on the same page. Said this is what I believe in. And listen, you're not getting paid for now. You're getting paid for all the years, all the sacrifices, all the things you didn't do that got you up to this point. How many people that you go back to, when did you start, in 2013?
No, I started in 2009.
You started in 2009.
No, excuse me, 2008.
2008. All right. We're 2022. How many people started in 2008 that are still here?
Yeah.
That are still here?
Yeah. I mean, this has just been my life's work. It really has. This has just been the only thing that I've ever known. It's the only thing that I've ever done. And it's not about, getting paid over the amount of time that I've been doing it now. It's about in the future. Yeah. I'm probably going to need, knee replacements. I'm probably going to need hip surgery or something like that. I need to be able to set myself up for the future, so that if something happens in the future, I'm going to have, a dime in my pocket to pay for that, because it's not like we got health insurance. It's not like we have stuff like that. But I definitely think, that I can't even complain too much, because the UFC has always taken care of me. They have always helped me out whenever I've needed anything. I call Dana and boom, it's done, it's handled. So I'm not upset by any means, but it's just my job to make sure that I go and get as much as I can in as fast amount of time that I can. I have a window of opportunity to jump through, and it's this big. And if I don't, it's going to pass me by and I'll be done. Yeah. So I just need to make sure that I'm setting myself up for life.
Well, you're easy to root for. I just watching these interviews the past 5 months, and you took all those names. I've loved it. The Rogan appearance, everything's been awesome. So, thanks for coming in. Tim, if you have anything else, I saw you got merch too, right?
Yes, JuliannaPeña.com. I got some merch. We're going to be dropping some new merch after that, and so yep, I'm dropping an NFT too. These people will get a chance to, if they win the raffle drop, they'll be able to walk out to the cage with me.
And where do they get your merch from? How do they sign up for this? They want to follow you on social media, you know, or like, are you making appearances anywhere? I know you don't make a lot of it, but you know.
So JuliannaPeña.com. You can buy. I also sell supplements that are NSF certified for sport, so you're not going to piss
people
hot.
that don't explain to our listeners what that actually means.
NSF certified for sport means that I can take it, and I'm not. I know for a fact that it's a clean product. I get piss tested all the time. They show up at my house at 6 o'clock in the morning to test me, and they're looking for cheaters. They're looking for roids. They're looking for performance enhancing drugs.
Shout out USADA.
Yep. These supplements that I take, Designs for Sport, are the cleanest products and the best products on the market. They really, truly are. You can buy all that at JuliannaPeña.com. My merch is at JuliannaPeña.com. This NFT will be dropping on March 29th, I believe. May 20. I get punched in the head too many times. May 29th is when the NFT will drop, and you can, be a part of my, super fan club in a sense. And, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, Julianna Peña, the Venezuelan vixen.
There you go.
Everybody loves the underdog, so
yes,
love the underdog.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, so that was the champ, Tim. What an interview.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's our first in-person interview, and she's everything.
She really is.
Yeah.
I'm really rooting for her. It was
it's hard not to.
Yeah. I know.
It really is. I mean, you look at just her history alone. You look at the history alone of what she's had to overcome, and even though she's the champ, she's still going to be considered the underdog. The best thing about it is she knows that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the thing is too, is, she said, she joked around with them. Oh, you lost your golden goose. I don't know, man. There's something there with her that she could be a big UFC thing too. So
yeah, she's got the personality. She's got the look. She is what they call the complete package. But it doesn't matter whether you're the complete package or not. The bottom line is the W.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It certainly is. So, all right, we're at the end here now, Tim. Is there what's the thing for the audience? Here it is, week 6. We got 2 weeks left.
You know what? The thing for the audience this week is to understand what triggers your emotional response. For you to get off your exercise program, to get off your diet, or just to say, fuck it, I'm not doing this anymore, or it's Friday, or whatever it is. Is it a person in your life? Is it something that happened in your life? Is it an event? Is it a thought? Whatever it may be. Is it an action? Is it a place? There's something that triggers that negative emotional response that throws you in a negative state, in a state where your emotions are taking control over your actions. Where what happens is instead of attacking the day with energy, you're getting attacked by emotions. So figure out what that is.
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, emotional response was such a big part of this. Was everything this episode.
Yeah.
And even when we said it to her in the interview, she took it a little different than once you kind of explained about what it was, what you actually meant behind everything. It's got a lot of meaning. So
it is. Like, your friends create emotional responses all the time. Guilt. The guilt that you put on yourself, the guilt that other people put on you. Like when you go out, come on, man. What do you mean? You're on a fucking diet. You're not going to eat that, man. What are they? That's an emotional response that they're out of guilt. Now, is that their guilt? Is it your guilt? What it is? But you need, before you can, if you really want to win this battle, with this rebuild battle, this is one of the most important things.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, find that emotional response. That's it. That's it for week 6. Remember, we still got that email address. It's rebuilded@barstoolsports.com. We still got the Reddit. It's r/rebuilded is a subreddit. He's at Tim Grover. I'm at Eddie Barstool. Go check that out, timgrover.com/dirty.
Oh, timgrover.com/dirty.
Got it. Okay, everybody. Thank you for listening. 2 weeks left. We'll see you next week.